Over the last several decades, a large amount of research has been conducted into a person's ability to pinpoint the moment that they are being deceived or lied to. This research has been fairly thorough, studying the ability of not only students, but recruitment managers, psychologists, law enforcement personnel, and even judges. Unfortunately, this research has returned findings that clearly represent that our human ability of deception detection is no more accurate than a game of chance or even flipping a coin. That said, in the modern world, some careers have a greater demand for a higher accuracy of deception detection than others. For example, if a person of high authority, whom is typically involved in criminal law or investigation, finds himself in a situation where he misreads an individual being charged for a significant crime, i.e. murder, attempted murder, or any other violent crime or major theft, the outcome could lead to dire consequences and/or completely life-changing results. These results generally being the outcome of law enforcement forming some sort of tunnel vision on a potentially innocent suspect, ignoring factors that could specify their innocence. Due to this terrifying possibility, major advancements to deception detection have been becoming more and more critical, which has spawned researchers to develop new strategies and techniques to help police and other investigators improve their abilities. Some of the traditional practices stem from very early theories, which assume that liars exhibit stress-based cues due to fear of being caught or feelings of guilt. These theories led researchers to search for reliable behavioral indicators of deception. They examined behaviors such as posture shifts, gaze aversion, and even foot and hand movements, without much success at all. Though some specialists may assert that there's really no Pinocchio's nose when speaking of behavioral deception detection, others may say that this form of detection still holds merit. Now, let's look at some possible examples of why that is so. This is Stuart Hazel. Stuart was living with and dating a woman named Christine. He was relatively close to her daughter Natalie and granddaughter Tia. On the weekend of August 3rd, 2012, 12-year-old Tia Sharp went missing. Due to an initial lack of evidence, but a consistent report that Tia's grandmother Christine was the last person to see Tia, Christine and Stuart's house was searched multiple times. On August 9th, 2012, following a plea by Tia's father and uncle for her return, Stuart Hazel participated in an interview for ITV News. This interview has been studied extensively by professionals, as well as many others who followed the case.
I know damn well it was 12:10, according to my clock, because as I was hoovering up the dog's mess by my kitchen, I look up and I've got a great big clock in front of me on the cooker, which says 12:10.
Now listen, you've been living in house arrest,
basically,
almost,
yeah,
for the last 7 days almost now. How's that been?
Oh, it's been horrible. It's been horrible. Do you know what I mean? The family's, we're stuck inside here, do you know what I mean? We've got all the papers outside, all putting accusations down, and they asked me stupid questions yesterday, like, oh, did you do anything? I said, well, no, I didn't. Excuse my language, but no, I didn't. I'd never think of that. I'd love her to bitch. She's like my own daughter, for God's sake. We had that sort of relationship. It was that sort of thing. It was just, you know, she wanted it, she got it. She's got a loving home. She's never gone without anything, so I can't work it out. What the hell's going on? We're all out there. They want to report the truth.
So do you feel under pressure? Do you feel that perhaps the people are looking at you?
Well, if they believe what they read in the papers, they can do whatever they like. Because I know deep down in my heart that Tia walked out of my house. She walked out there, and I know damn well because she was seen walking down the pathway. I know she made that track down to that way. What happened after that is I don't know.
Tia Sharp was found the next day on the law enforcement's third search of Christine and Stuart's home. She was located in the attic, wrapped in a black bed sheet and stuffed into a black bag. Investigators located memory cards which were hidden in the doorframe. These memory cards contained images of Tia sleeping, as well as voyeuristic videos of Tia while she was alive. They also contained photos and images of Tia being posed in sexual positions after she was murdered. Two of the main behavioral or physical observations regarding deception detection during this interview of Stuart Hazel are the change in color of Stuart's ears while he speaks during the interview. Body language experts have gone on to explain that as the blood pressure increases due to stress or guilt, the fine capillaries located in the ear are subject to become more red. Another interesting observation is in which the direction that Stuart seems to be looking. Stuart seems to look down during each response. There is a common belief that men whom look downwards when being asked pressured questions, more often or not, tend to be caught as deceitful, while as women who look upwards are more than likely being deceitful. Let's now watch this back one more time with these observations in mind.
I know damn well it was 12:10, according to my clock, because as I was hoovering up the dog's mess by my kitchen, I look up and I've got a great big clock in front of me on the cooker which says 12:10.
Now listen, you've been living in house arrest,
Basically,
almost,
yeah.
for the last 7 days almost now. How's that been?
Oh, it's been horrible. It's been horrible. Do you know what I mean? The family's, we're stuck inside here, do you know what I mean? We've got all the papers outside, all putting accusations down, and they asked me stupid questions yesterday, like, oh, did you do anything? I said, well, no, I didn't. Excuse my language, but no, I didn't. I'd never think of that. I'd loved her to bits. She's like my own daughter, for God's sake. We had that sort of relationship. It was that sort of thing. It was just, you know, she wanted it, she got it. She's got a loving home. She's never gone without anything, so I can't work it out. What the hell's going on? We're all out there. They want to report the truth.
So do you feel under pressure? Do you feel that perhaps the people are looking at you?
Well, if they believe what they read in the papers, they can do whatever they like. Because I know deep down in my heart that Tia walked out of my house. She walked out there, and I know damn well because she was seen walking down the pathway. I know she made that track down to that way. What happened after that is I don't know.
Now, let's look at another example. This is Karen Matthews. On Tuesday, February 19th, 2008, 9-year-old Shannon Matthews was reported missing by her mother Karen at 6:48 p.m. following a school swimming trip. The following day, on February 20th, Karen took part in an interview for BBC News.
Shannon, if you're out there, please, darling, come home. We love you so much. Me and your dad, your brothers, your sisters, everybody loves you. Your dad's missing you so much, Shannon. He's even out looking for you. Please come home, Shannon. If you're out there, come home. If anybody's got my daughter, my beautiful Prince's daughter, please bring her home safe.
Many body language experts that have spoken on this interview will state that this initial video is actually impressively deceiving. She maintains relatively normal timing with her answers to questions. She doesn't seem to overly suppress her body language or mannerisms, and the bags under her eyes somewhat contribute to a believable deception. Only a couple things can actually be pointed out from this video. The one main observation that I have come across is called a gestural slip. This is a very slight gesture, which tends to give the impression that the deceiver is not confident with the answer that they are providing, or that they have no idea. If both shoulders were to have raised in a shrug, that is a common and general indication of being unsure. However, when a person only has a subtle single shoulder reaction, as depicted in this interview, it is believed that there is a contradiction between the mind and the body with what they are saying. It is almost like a suppression of a natural reaction. Shannon Matthews was actually being held captive at her mother's boyfriend's house under the direction of her mother Karen. Shannon was found alive and well just under a month later.
If you look at her right-hand shoulder on the left-hand side of the screen, watch a fraction of a second later.
In line with these previous examples, I wanted to go over one more, much more recent example, and that is the relatively well-known case of Chris Watts. As many of you already know, on the morning of August 12th, 2018, Chris Watts murdered his pregnant wife Shanann and his 2 young children, Bella and Celeste. He drove them to an oil site that he was working on and buried Shanann in a shallow grave. He then suffocated his daughters and stuffed their bodies into 2 oil tanks. Bella and Celeste were later found to have oil inside their lungs, indicating that they may have woken up inside the oil tanks. During the days following, Chris quickly became a person of interest. However, despite Chris's involvement in a series of disturbing decisions, Chris took part in multiple TV interviews where he pleaded for their safe return.
Chris Watts, WATTS.
Wow. What's going on right now around your house?
Right now it's, you got K9 units, the sheriff's department. Everybody's like, they're doing their best right now to figure out like if they can get a scent, see where they went. If they went on foot, they went in a car, or they went somewhere. And right now it's just like they've been on point. They're going through the house trying to get a scent, and hopefully they can pick something up to where it's going to lead to something.
What happened? Your wife came home. Tell me what's.
She came home from the airport 2 a.m. and I left around 5:15. She was still here.
A few observations from these clips that many body language experts have spoken out about are his crossed arms. This is typical of somebody who is feeling defensive or uncomfortable in a specific situation. Intense eye contact. Although it is more typical to see a deceiver find ways to avoid eye contact, like rubbing their eyes or looking upwards or downwards, in some cases, intense or strong eye contact can also be an indicator that a person is being deceitful. a pacifier gesture, which in this case would be Chris's subtle rock back and forth. This gesture is generally exhibited when somebody is experiencing fear or shock and is actually a defense mechanism which causes some relief of discomfort. Now, let's play a little bit more of this interview.
And like about 12:10 in that afternoon, her friend Nicole showed up at the door. Like I had texted Shanann a few times that day, called her, say, but she never got back to me, but she wasn't getting back to any of her people as well. And that's what really concerned a lot of people, is like, if she's not getting back to her, like if she doesn't get back to me, that's fine, like she gets busy during the day, but she didn't get back to her people, which was very concerning. And Nicole called me when she was at the door, and that's when I came home. And then walked in the house and nothing was vanished, nothing was here. I mean, she wasn't here, the kids weren't here, nobody was here.
What's your wife's name?
Shanann.
Something interesting that has been pointed out is the connection between how the fight or flight response works inside the brain. Basically, during a fight or flight response, a part of the brain known as the amygdala takes control, as it is trying to determine the correct response to whatever stimuli is making you feel nervous or pressured. The part of your brain known as the neocortex, which is responsible for speech articulation, becomes less powerful. When looking at Chris, what we start to see is him using more filler words, those words being like, or or and. Another thing to keep watch for is Chris's blink rate. While your body is experiencing fight or flight, your nervous system causes a number of changes within the body. Some of these are a slowdown in blood flow to the organs, which can result in pale skin, an increase in bladder size, allowing less focus on our digestive system, and also a decrease in mucous membrane production, which can result in dry eyes. Due to this reaction causing dry eyes, you may see a person whom is trying to be deceitful blinking more and more frequently. With these observations in mind, let's watch this again.
SHANANN.
What's your kids' name?
Bella and Celeste.
How do you spell Celeste?
CELESTE.
How old are your daughters?
4, Bella's 4, Celeste is 3.
And so, how many times did you try calling her?
I called her 3 times, texted her about 3 times just to say, what's going on? Like because after I called her and texted her once, it's like maybe she was just busy. Like she had just gotten back. Like everybody's probably calling her from her trip. She just got back from Arizona, and I figured she was just busy. But when her friend showed up, that's what it was like. It registered like, all right, this isn't right.
Do you think she just took off? Do you think?
I mean, right now I don't even want to just like throw anything out there. Like, I hope that she's somewhere safe right now and with the kids. But I mean, could she just taken off? I don't know. But if somebody has her and they're not safe, like I want them back now.
As stated earlier in this video, although these forms of deception detection hold some merit, they are absolutely not accurate enough to be relied on enough as indicators of guilt. Regardless, in many cases, these subtle behavioral cues have been enough to draw attention to a suspect who may later confess after further pressure is put onto them. Due to research proving that observing visual cues presented by the deceiver, such as lack of eye contact or restless fidgeting, may be unreliable, psychologists have now turned their focus onto what strategies can be used to elicit signs of deception. As quoted by psychology professor Maria Hartwig, the view now is that the interaction between the deceiver and the observer is a strategic interplay. The goal is to build a case against the suspect long before relying on behavioral body language cues. The more information or evidence gathered surrounding the crimes that can be used against the suspect, the better. Deceivers generally find themselves in a dilemma. They are forced to create a story without knowing exactly what evidence has been gathered against them. They are forced into a situation where their goal is to make a long-lasting, convincing impression on the observer. This impression generally unravels as the details of their story are proven false and a shift in body language becomes more apparent. That said, the goal now is to make the deceiver talk as much as possible while slowly revealing more and more evidence against them, only presenting lighter evidence early on into the interrogation, while presenting the more seriously incriminating evidence later on into the interrogation. Before we get to any examples of this used inside the interrogation room, let's look at one very familiar interview that this channel has covered, in which a news anchor ironically used this technique on a suspect long before either party even realized he was one. This is Stephen McDaniel. On the night of June 26, 2011, Stephen attacked and strangled his neighbor and fellow classmate Lauren Giddings to death. He then spent the next couple days dismembering her body and executing his plan to dispose of it. Before realizing that Lauren's body was found, Stephen decided to take part in this news interview, claiming that he knew very little about Lauren's whereabouts.
And no one's heard from her since.
Did you see her hang out with anyone at the time or anything like that?
No one has seen her since Saturday. I haven't seen anything. I've always hear noise outside, but it's just people walking by pretty much.
And she just recently graduated from Mercer?
Yeah, she and I were both JD students. We graduated back in May.
What kind of person was she? I mean, what did you see?
She's as nice as can be. Very personable, very much a people person.
Do you know any enemies she might have had, somebody that might want to hurt her?
No, we don't know where she is. The only thing we can think is that maybe she went out running and someone snatched her. Because we went over. One of her friends had a key. We went inside and tried to see if there was anything amiss, but she had a door jamb that was sitting right by it, so there was no sign that anyone broke in. The door was locked when everyone got here. We just don't know where she is.
What about in the parking lot area? I know they've been doing a lot of. I think that's where they have recovered the body or whatever they recovered from there.
Body.
Had you seen anything there?
Here we can see Stephen's fight or flight response kicking in. Stephen then chooses flight for a brief moment while he attempts to regain control of his body and mind.
Had you seen anything there? We don't know if this is the same person. You know what I mean? They took out a body there earlier. We don't know if it's the same person or not. So that's why we're trying to ask people if they know who lived there. Are you okay, sir?
I think I need to sit down.
Okay.
As his amygdala takes control, his ability to articulate his sentences becomes greatly impaired. Instead of using filler words like what Chris Watts did, Stephen begins to let out some sort of sound effect.
You've been studying for the bar?
Yeah, no one had seen her since Saturday because there's not a whole lot of interaction unless we're doing classes.
Right.
And she was doing the online version of it.
You all studied together though?
We were in, there's two different people, there's two companies that provide it. Kaplan provides it and Barbary provides it. I signed up with Barbary and I've been doing the lectures that they have in the mornings. She was doing the Kaplan online, so I hardly ever saw her. I would see her go out running, but
What time would she go out running?
I don't even know when.
Was it at night or morning?
I saw her midday a couple weeks ago. That was the last time I saw her, was coming back from the bar prep on the main campus because we got moved over there for a week or two.
But she normally would run. That was the
routine
that she had.
She ran all the time. She had a group that she would go running with.
Another thing we can see very apparently is Stephen's blood pressure increasing, as well as a shift in anxiety resulting in some sort of hyperventilating.
I don't know anyone that would want to hurt her. She was as nice a person as there is.
Was she moving soon? Did you know anything about her?
Yeah. She was going to be moving out today. She was supposed to move out today because someone else was going to be moving into her apartment, a new law student.
Do you know if she was planning? Where is she from? Is she from Maryland?
Yeah, she's from up in Maryland.
Can I just put this on you so we can hear you? Is that all right?
Okay.
I'm so sorry. Here, and you can just hold on here. Thank you. Yeah, she's from Maryland.
Yeah, she was from up in Maryland. All her family was there, as far as I know. She.
What's going on in your mind right now? What are you thinking?
Since I have already gone over this interview in the past, I am now going to move into the interrogation room.
Why would anyone do this?
You didn't hear anything?
No. I just heard something. Maybe I could have helped.
Okay, don't worry. Do you want to sit down for a second? Get something to drink?
Do you know if a bunch of her friends are getting together or anything?
I mean, that's how I found out that she was missing. A bunch of her friends came over yesterday night.